Tyreek Hill's week didn't just take a turn. It spun. Hard. And not because of football. His 8-month-old daughter, Capri, ended up in the emergency room on Wednesday night. Not a late-night drive to urgent care. Not a call to check with a pediatrician. The ER. Lights, beeps, unfamiliar hands. The air that always feels colder than it should when you're in a hospital hallway, wondering what happens next. Kita Vaccaro, Hill's estranged wife, was the one who let the world in on what happened. She put it out there on Instagram, not to make headlines, but because sometimes you can't keep it bottled up when the night shakes you like that. Capri had suddenly become warm to the touch, unusually sleepy, and just not herself. You know that moment when you're looking at your child, and you can't put your finger on what's wrong, but your gut tells you something's off. That's where Vaccaro was. She didn't wait. She called Dr. Jared Friedman. Minutes later, they were in the ER, greeted by a team ready to move fast. Blood work, viral panels, cultures, everything done quickly, with a kind of urgency that doesn't panic you, but reminds you that it's serious. Vaccaro said it was handled gently. That's not a word people throw around after an ER trip unless it really was. Capri's doing better now. That's the sentence everyone wanted to hear. Hill and Vaccaro's story hasn't exactly been steady lately. They married in November 2023, celebrated the birth of Capri that same month, but by April, police were being called to their Sunny Isles beach apartment. Not by a neighbor, by Vaccaro's mother. According to the police report, she told officers Hill was acting aggressive, impulsive, and that she was afraid for her daughter. The report painted a tense scene. Hill and Vaccaro arguing, a laptop thrown to the ground, and then Hill holding their 4-month-old daughter and stepping toward the balcony of their 35th floor apartment. Not a detail that sits easy in the mind. Vaccaro told the officers they'd been trying couples therapy, but it wasn't working. She was already planning a divorce. She said the fight started because she told Hill he wasn't involved enough in Capri's life. The next day, she made it official and filed for divorce. And here's Hill now, still wearing aqua and orange, still prepping for his 3rd season with the Dolphins, but with more than just routes and yardage on his plate. His football year, before all this, wasn't the kind you put on a highlight reel. Tua Tagovailoa spent most of it dealing with concussion problems, and without his quarterback firing on all cylinders, Hill's numbers dipped. Number 119 catch, 1,799 yard, 13 touchdown dominance like the season before. Instead, it was 81 catches, 959 yards, 6 touchdowns. For most receivers, that's a solid year. For Tyreek Hill, it was a step down. And then came his words at the end of last season, the kind you can't just toss out and expect them to disappear. Hill said he was out. No sugarcoating it. The way it landed, it sounded like he was ready to leave, maybe even looking for a fresh start somewhere else. General Manager Chris Greer insisted Hill never asked for a trade, but words like that echo in locker rooms. Tua heard them. The rest of the team heard them. Dolphins fans heard them. It's not just with me. It's with a lot of the guys. Tua said. You don't just come back from that with, "Hey, my bad." You have to work that relationship back up. That's the thing. Hill's speed is measured in yards per second, but trust doesn't run that way. It's slower, more fragile. Now picture this. A star receiver in the middle of a public divorce, his role as a father under scrutiny, his relationship with teammates in need of repair, and the weight of a season ahead where anything less than dominance will be picked apart by everyone with a microphone or a keyboard. That's where Hill stands. But there's a question no one seems to want to ask out loud. When your personal life gets pulled apart like this, how much does it bleed into the game? Football players aren't built from steel. They've got the same distractions, the same sleepless nights, the same phone calls at 2 a.m. that make you stare at the ceiling instead of the playbook. Hill's got to walk back into that Dolphins facility and show something more than just sharp cuts on the field. He's got to show his teammates he's still all in. And the thing is, it's not just about telling them. You can't speech your way into that kind of trust. You show it in the way you block for someone else's run. You show it when the game plan shifts away from you and you don't sulk. You show it by being there, every rep, every meeting, every time a rookie needs to see how it's done. But here's another layer. Dolphins fans have a long memory. They remember the excitement when Hill came over from Kansas City, the idea that pairing him with Tua would turn this offense electric. They remember that first season together, the highlight reels, the sense that Miami was suddenly on the edge of something big. Then they remember last year's sputtering finish. And now they're reading about our visits, divorce filings, and off-season quotes that sounded like the door was already open for him to leave. So where's the spark going to come from? Because the Dolphins aren't walking into an easy year. The AFC is stacked. Every week feels like a fight to stay in the playoff race. The offense needs to hum from week 1, not week 10. And that means Hill needs to be more than a distraction magnet. He needs to be the guy who pulls defenses apart and takes pressure off everyone else. But is that possible when everything outside the game feels like it's pulling in the opposite direction? There's a kind of spotlight that comes with being Tyreek Hill. Not just because of the plays, but because of the personality. He's not quiet. He's never been quiet. And when you're like that, the highs hit harder, but so do the lows. Right now, Hill's not just chasing yards. He's chasing something harder to measure: stability. Because if you're thinking the Dolphins' season is just going to be about offensive schemes and injury reports, you're missing it. This team's chemistry matters. What happens between Hill and his quarterback, between Hill and that locker room matters. And this isn't the kind of thing you patch up with one good game. It's weeks of proving you're there. Weeks of making sure the talk is about what happened on the field Sunday, not what's happening in court on Monday. Hill's daughter is doing better now. That's the good news. But moments like that change you, whether you admit it or not. They pull your focus, make you reassess where your time goes, how you show up for the people who matter. Maybe that's the thread that ties all of this together. Maybe the only way he finds his footing again is by closing that gap between Tyreek Hill the football player and Tyreek Hill the man people are watching off the field. The Dolphins don't need a perfect Hill. They need a present Hill. One who's not halfway out the door. One who's not fighting ghosts from last season or whispers from the offseason. One who's as reliable in the huddle as he is explosive after the catch. The truth is, no one knows yet which version they're going to get. And that's the part that has the season hanging in the air like a deep ball. Either it drops perfectly into the hands, or it drifts just out of reach.